Hey, so this is one of the weirdest reviews I've ever made. It starts like all my other videos, but something during the long process of writing the script happened, and it kind of changed the trajectory of things. It'll make sense later, but I feel like I should be honest and tell you this isn't like my other reviews. But everything I talk about I still firmly believe in, so I hope you enjoy it anyways. Okay, see you in a bit. Hey guys, Apox Fox here. This is probably the most biased review I'll ever make. The original LEGO Star Wars was the first video game on console I ever owned, and because of that, it's not only one of the key reasons why I fell in love with gaming, but also it's always going to be a perfect video game in my eyes. When I found out they were rebuilding the game from the ground up 2 decades later, and including the entire Skywalker Saga, I was pretty excited. I already play the original LEGO Star Wars at least every other year, and the idea of replaying one of my favorite games for the first time again was like a dream come true. That being said, I'm going to try to be as critical in this review as possible. At times it might seem like I had a negative experience, but I want to make it clear that this game has exceeded my expectations and so much more. I'm going to be comparing the new game to the original quite a bit, so to make sure we're on the same page, this is the Complete Saga that came out in 2007, and this is the Skywalker Saga, which was released less than a week ago. Complete Saga, Skywalker Saga. Twilight Saga, Lasagna. Okay, with that out of the way, let's review LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga. I think the most noticeable difference between the original and the Skywalker Saga has to be the camera. Instead of going for an overhead fixed camera like the Complete Saga, this game feels like a third-person action shooter more than anything. Using the triggers to fire a blaster feels tight and freeing, but my favorite addition to the combat has to be the new combo system that allows you to mix up your inputs for a wide variety of chain attacks. There are 9 different character classes that each have their own movesets and weapons. For example, the Scoundrel class uses charge blasters with more of a focus on melee combat, while the Bounty Hunter class uses burst rifles and a ton of cool gadgets like flamethrowers. Switching between these classes doesn't have a huge effect on how you play because, to be honest, the game's a cakewalk, but it's still a nice touch nonetheless, especially since there are over 400 playable characters. If they all felt the same, it would get stale pretty fast, and having a class system definitely keeps things interesting. Speaking of this game being ridiculously easy, it would have been nice to add different difficulty settings for players looking for a challenge. I can count on one hand the amount of times I died during story levels, and even when you do die, you just instantly respawn. I get why it's so easy, I mean, it's a LEGO game after all. I just can't help but feel less engaged when there's nothing at stake. Overall, I think the combat is pretty slick. There are so many great little details about the animations, like how headshots will knock the helmet off a stormtrooper, and just the way enemies explode into a bunch of Lego pieces. I don't know how else to put it, it's just a fun time. Hands down, the best part about the Skywalker Saga has to be the open worlds. There are over 20 different planets to explore between story missions, and I spend at least 80% of my time doing side quests and searching for collectibles on each planet. I was really surprised by just how big these planets actually are. Every single planet has different sections you can travel to. Coruscant had like 6 of these sections, and they were all filled with side quests. I was constantly taken aback by just how much there is to do in this game. The main collectibles in the Skywalker Saga are Kyber bricks, and these can be used to upgrade the many different classes in the game. Each character class has their own skill tree, and although most of the upgrades don't really matter because, again, the game is easy enough without them, the main appeal of Kyber bricks is how fun they are to collect. You can take up smuggler quests where you have to transport illegal goods across the galaxy, or you can accept bounty hunter contracts that will take you over multiple planets in search of a wanted bounty hunter that you can then unlock as a playable character. There's also platforming challenges on each planet that can only be found through exploration, target practice mini-games, arcade-style puzzles, and so many more ways to keep you distracted from continuing the main story. That's not even mentioning the space open world, which is filled with dogfight battles and even the ability to purchase your own capital ships like the Death Star, that also have their own side quests within them. I can't stress this enough, this game is filled with endless content if you want it to be. Deciding to partake in the open world quests can change a 15-hour playthrough to a 100-hour playthrough. I hope that players won't write off the side content as just side content, because it really has so much to offer. But let's talk a bit more about the main story levels. The Skywalker Saga follows the movies much more closely than the original complete saga, which you can either take as a good thing or a bad thing. For one, it's the most detailed way to experience Star Wars in video game form, but one of the best parts about the original game was how it was able to stray away from its source material, making for much longer and more creative levels. Take the Darth Maul boss fight for instance. In the complete saga, this level will take you through multiple platforming sections. There's a ton of secret rooms and waves of droids to fight. In the Skywalker Saga, it's almost entirely focused on the fight itself, moving through every location shown in the movies without really taking too many creative liberties, which isn't a bad thing, but it's definitely a lot more straightforward. The levels are noticeably shorter in the Skywalker Saga, and I think that's fine since 80% of the game takes place within its open world, but I thought it was worth mentioning anyways. As far as the level variety goes, it feels like each level has something new to offer. Whether you're pursuing a bounty hunter in the skies of Coruscant or exploring the snowy plains of Hoth, the levels do a great job of setting themselves apart from the open world gameplay. The best part is, you can always go back and replay these levels anytime with a character or ship of your choosing. There's also multiple paths you can take, so even if the levels are shorter, there's plenty of replayability to be had. Now, we do have to talk about bugs a bit because on launch day, this game was buggy as hell. It's still pretty buggy, but that just seems like the new standard for AAA games, I guess. Most of them aren't too bad. Seeing duplicated character models or having a member of your party get stuck in a wall definitely isn't game-breaking, but it does not stop there. Multiple times playing the Skywalker Saga, I had my game freeze on a loading screen while trying to fast travel, which forced me to close the game and lose quite a bit of progress. One time I got stuck in a space quest line because I could only target my teammates instead of the enemy, which I do consider game breaking. It's really a shame when you're so deeply immersed in a game and then something like this happens. It's also a shame how low Cyberpunk has set my expectations for new video games, but that's a conversation for a different day. Was my experience ruined from bugs and glitches? Not really, but it's important to call them out anyways because you'd think a brand new AAA game being played on PS5 wouldn't run into these issues. And this is where things took a turn for the worse. This is future editing Tyler speaking now. I just reached episode 7 and I found maybe the worst bug I've ever experienced in a game. There's this part in LEGO Star Wars where you show up to Maz's castle and a cutscene happens. Well, for me, there's no cutscene, and after doing some research, I found out that this bug is happening to a lot of people. At this point in time, there is no way to progress through the game. I'm literally just stuck, and the only way to fix this bug is to start a new game file after the hours and hours of grinding I put in. I mean, this game has been out for over a week now, and this isn't fixed yet? I don't really know what to say. I could have postponed this video till it was fixed, but TT Games has a track record of slow bug fixes, and let's be honest, by the time the update comes out, this game could lose its relevance. So I decided I'm just gonna keep going. I mean, I still agree with everything I said before. This game is super fun, but it's not fun when you get locked out of playing it. This isn't the only example of literal game-breaking bugs. I've seen people have quest characters just straight up not be there, chronic game freezes during levels, players getting stuck in objects and not being able to escape. Having a buggy game is one thing, but when it prevents the player from actually playing the game that they paid for, honestly, I feel like I got scammed. Which sucks because I was falling in love with this game. I don't want to ramble, but I was considering how much I should let bugs affect how I review a video game. I mean, every game has bugs to some extent, but if they keep you from finishing, then should you let that get in the way of all the things you love about it? So I decided this kind of stuff isn't acceptable. I'd hate to see one of you guys feel ripped off like I do, so I won't be recommending you play this game. In fact, I don't think you should, at least till the huge bug fixes roll around. I wish this could have gone differently, but I never want to lie to you guys to make a review easier. LEGO Star Wars had actual potential to be my game of the year, and although it was pretty close in its presentation of open world mechanics and thrilling combat, bugs like this are going to be my biggest takeaway from the whole experience. Anyways, sorry that was a weird one, but either way, I hope you enjoyed hanging out for a while. If you want to see more reviews from me, definitely consider subscribing, and also comment to let me know if you've been experiencing these bugs like I have. I certainly hope you haven't. Anyways, keep on gaming to the fullest, and I'll catch you next time. Peace.